It's Sunday, the 27th of May, 2018, and this is your EV News Daily. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're listening around the world. A very warm welcome from London in the UK. And here is today's news about electric cars and the future of transport. My name is Martin Lee, and I go through every EV article online, so you don't have to. Coming up on today's programme, BMW boosting the capacity of the factory which makes the i3, and Ford moves its EV team to a new home. But first of all, a bit of reaction to the last 24 hours, which have been predictably busy. If you're listening to the podcasts, by the way, catching up with a couple in reverse order, I should point out this will be a really quick summary. Yesterday, as I was just about to record the podcast, I put a tweet out about a rumour that 6 planes were en route from Germany here in Europe to California, cargo planes carrying Tesla cargo. So that would imply they were heading from Tesla Grohmann Engineering, which is the company in Germany formerly known as Grohmann, with all of the robots and automation which is going to radically upgrade the Gigafactory. So I put that tweet out there and said, if this is true, then Elon's going to be saying, hold my beer, because things are going to get big in terms of the production of the Model 3 really quickly after the shutdown. Well, Elon saw that, and it's the first time I've had any of my tweets replied to directly by Elon Musk. And as you can imagine, someone with 22 million followers on Twitter, it just got really busy in terms of the mentions, notifications, trying to sift through people asking me questions about certain things as well. I've been replying to those all day. So one of those, it was inevitable. It was then going to be picked up by news outlets and news organizations. It was quite a big announcement by Elon Musk because in reply to my tweet, he said the new production line, or this is the new production line, it's going to be Zone 4 for the battery modules. It's going to play a key role in getting from 3,000 a week to 6,000 a week for the Model 3. Didn't say he's doing it by June, which is the assumption I made, because 5,000 by June was the estimate with a burst rate of maybe 6,000. However, one of those websites that picked it up, Inside EVs, always brilliant. Eric Loveday and the team are not only Inside EVs, but the wider team that they're part of as well. Fantastic organisation. So they gave me some credit on the article as well. So they posted my tweet and Elon's reply. There's also, I said thank you to Elon, asked the follow-up question on Twitter about, is this the third of the 4 zones which you've nailed? And he replied to that as well, which they didn't put in this article, but I thought they were still waiting for 2 of the 4 battery module zones to be fixed. They fixed the third a couple of weeks ago. This is for the 4th and final one. So Eric on Inside EVs says this. Earlier, Musk had said that 2 of the Gigafactory's 4 battery module zones had serious issues. One of those 2 was previously fixed. These inbound parts that we're talking about will fix the 4th and final zone, which means soon Model 3 production should be able to reach capacity. And that was just one of the articles that picked up on the conversation between Elon and myself yesterday. So this factory shutdown, which was yesterday, today, originally for 6 days, but one story suggested it could be as little as 3. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday over this weekend that we're in. And then that's really going to speed up production of the Gigafactory. So a couple of really interesting comments, because the readers of Inside EVs tend to be really an insightful bunch and often know way more about Tesla than I said. I'm no authority, certainly. One of the users, called G2, put this question on. I wonder if, since the article indicates battery models were the bottleneck, Tesla has several thousand TM3 gliders awaiting their batteries before completion. That's an interesting question to put out there. I don't know about several thousand, but would they have done that if they couldn't make enough batteries? Would they have made some batteryless cars? Well, one person followed that up with this. Doubtful, as they would have to be removed from the production line and stockpiled up somewhere and then put back on the line for a battery to have been installed. And that would make sense, because earlier in the week on the podcast I told you about a video. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long, and it's by the YouTube channel EVTV, and they bought a Model 3, a wreck. Unfortunately, they bought a wreck from the auction, and this hour and 20 long minute video on YouTube is them disassembling the Model 3 and taking out the battery and all the ancillary bits with that, the inverter, etc., and the powertrain from the Model 3, dropping it down onto the bench and taking the battery apart. And one of the interesting observations in that video, it's an hour and 20. I've watched the whole thing and I've skipped through it a couple of times as well, actually, for the bits that I might have missed. One of the takeaways from that is, unlike the Model S, which was designed for battery swapping, if you remember, Tesla tried to do that unsuccessfully a little while ago, but the architecture of the Model 3 is fundamentally about swapping the battery in the Model S. The Model 3 designed completely differently, and one of the comments on the video was that actually they had to take apart most of the car and the insides of the car and all that kind of stuff just to get to the battery to drop it down. It wasn't simply a case of here's the skateboard and then here's the chassis. So that kind of thing. So maybe that would back up the argument, the reply rather, that actually they probably haven't got a bunch of gliders sitting somewhere because you can't really finish the car and then just bolt the battery in. That's not really the way it works. It's kind of more integral to that. Another comment as well on Inside EVs on the comments section was that they're flying these 6 cargo planes full of all the automation equipment into California. Why not Nevada? Because Reno's airport is home to the Air National Guard airlift wing, and an 11,000-foot runway should have been no problem for handling large cargo aircraft. So that's interesting. Maybe they literally haven't got the facilities or the staff there. Maybe they weren't allowed to land there. Maybe they couldn't unload 6 planes worth there. But even though it was closer to the Gigafactory, maybe it was better to send them to California where the trucks and the engineers and the staff can be there to do that, move the pallets and the crates, or however they've shipped them, onto trucks and then off to the Gigafactory. No answer to that, but interesting. They could have got closer with the planes, but who knows why the Tesla engineers needed to get those planes to California. So that's a little wrap-up, little part B of the rather busy 24 hours that I've had, and once again, just reflecting back on, huge thanks to Elon Musk for spotting my tweet and replying directly to it twice as well with a follow-up question. And he's been doing, he's been really busy on Twitter, so it's not as if this is he's been replying to a lot of people like Ben from Teslanomics and Ryan from Ride the Lightning as well. And so he has been busy. He has been looking out for things and also venting a bit on Twitter. But so it's becoming a little more common, but still incredible. And I'm really grateful that Elon gave me a chance to ask that question and have it answered as well. All right, on with the rest of the news today then. And Nissan showed off the Nissan LEAF Open Car. It's an open-air version of the new Nissan LEAF, the 40 kilowatt-hour version in Tokyo 2 days ago. It looks like a LEAF roadster, if you will. It's from the Nissan Press Office, saying the 100% electric car was displayed at a forum to celebrate the milestone of 100,000 sales of the Nissan LEAF in Japan since it was first introduced 8 years ago in 2010. It wasn't quite a pure convertible because it still had, it was more like a roadster version of the Nissan LEAF. Just a concept. It doesn't appeal to me aesthetically in any way. It's a weird thing to do, but it was eye-catching and it got lots of headlines, so maybe that was the only reason they were doing that. Well, last year, was it last year? Yeah, last year, my brother bought a brand new BMW i3, the range extended version, and he had to wait quite a long time for it here in the UK. And by the sounds of it, that experience is not uncommon because BMW are investing in making more of them to meet demand. BMW will invest over €300 million to increase production at its Leipzig plant in Germany, the automaker's 5th largest. It lays the foundation for production for future models, say Autonews. Well, the i3 full electric city car is built there. Uses renewable wind energy in its own hall. It's separate from the core assembly work there and the conventionally powered diesels. The plant's other model is the i8 plug-in hybrid sports car. Now, BMW not saying whether it will add further models at the factory or even if this $300 million investment will go anywhere near the i3. You would assume it would do if they're making general investments in the Leipzig or increases in production of all the models that are being made there. But we'll try and get some clarity on that. Well, the company's head of production, Oliver Zipse, said this: "With the measures we are introducing now, we should make the plant even more flexible and, above all, more efficient to keep it competitive in the future." Autonews went on to say the changes to the assembly include a new 40-ton panorama roof fitting system. It was added back in March to increase speed and flexibility. Preparations are also ongoing to integrate new collaborative human-robot systems. What's a human-robot system? It's often referred to as a cobot in the labour-intensive assembly line, not only using the robots but plenty of humans in there as well. Well, moving on to Ford, and more than 200 Ford employees have just started working in its new Corktown office space on Thursday earlier this week. They're all part of Ford's self-driving and EV team. The company released video of what the 45,000 square foot space looks like. It's a refurbished factory that sits right along the Michigan Avenue near Rosa Parks Boulevard. Well, this next headline from Business Insiders does tend to hit the holy grail of all things clickbait: Apple, Tesla and China. They say China's top electric car startup is using Apple's playbook to take on Tesla. Chinese electric car startup NIO thinks it can take on Tesla and the auto industry by using similar strategies that Apple used to dominate the market for smartphones, says this article by Business Insider. They continue by saying that while many consumers think of Apple's hardware and technology as its key differentiating factor, NIO founder William Li said that Apple's dominance comes down to its high-end user experience, its ecosystem, and its account management system, end quote. There's another company, isn't there, that has a high-end user experience, that has an ecosystem, that has account management. Yeah, they're called Tesla, and they're getting it right in many ways. And other EV companies, interesting that they are trying to, although they're not building, so with the Jaguar I-Pace, Jaguar aren't building their own supercharging network, and VW and Audi with their e-tron Quattro won't be building their own supercharging network, but all doing deals with the existing charging networks and trying to make it as, how do you say, frictionless, I believe is the management buzzword, frictionless as possible when you buy one of these new EVs from an alternative to Tesla, not being an enormous faff and just being, okay, I've got one card, I've got one smartphone app, I don't have to worry about which one is this, where's the smart card for this, I'm tapping my phone, it's not working, all those kind of things. Right, moving on. And I love it when the mainstream media discover electric vehicles. Like a light bulb goes on, one of those moments, like this is something that nobody knew about. Oh my goodness, there's a thing called electric cars. Did you guys know this? And so the national newspaper The Sun here in the UK has done that. They have some great writers for them, by the way. They're motoring writers, really good. It's just what they have to do to appeal to some of the audience of The Sun, if you get my drift, that makes it not always the thinking person's newspaper. I'm trying not to be enormously insulting there. However, up until recently, if you don't know about the Sun newspaper, it was used to be very, very popular here in the UK. Up until recently, they used to have a naked woman on page 3, just, because. So if you don't know the Sun, that gives you an idea kind of about it. It was kind of that kind of newspaper. They're trying to sort of reinvent themselves a little bit, but all newspaper circulations are just in free fall at the moment. I mean, no one was buying newspapers, are they? So they are trying to change a little bit and drive it all online, all that kind of stuff. And they've picked up on the Harry and Meghan wedding fever and the fact that they drove away from their wedding in the Jaguar E-Type Concept Zero, the electric car they drove away in. The Sun's compiled their own favourite other electric conversions. And they've picked out some really good ones. The 1998 Mini EV, which was revealed by the British maker earlier this year. The 20-year-old Mini had a 10 kilowatt-hour battery put in it, and to some really nice results as well, very rapid. The 1978 Ferrari 308 GTS was the world's first electric Ferrari. It's a classic conversion. It sold earlier this year for an undisclosed amount. The Renovo Coupe, the 1964 Shelby Daytona, top speed of 120 miles an hour, 0 to 60, 3.4 seconds, electric conversion, worth £400,000, about $500,000 US. What about in the 1950s VW Beetle, the electric car company Zelectric Motors? Apologies, haven't heard of them before. They're probably pretty well known, and I should have known about them before and said their name correctly then. Converted one of the mid-20th century classics to an 80-mile range, 100-mile-an-hour top speed. The 1980 Fiat Spider has been converted as well. Another product of electric GT. Convertible Fiat comes with a 120-mile range from a full charge. And finally, the 1957 Ford Fairlane. Created by the New Zealand energy company Mercury, it's a vintage 57 Fairlane powered now by a Siemens bus electric motor. All of them would look lovely in my driveway or my garage, none of which I Could afford any of them. And finally, Tesla has introduced a mobile repair service here in the UK, and it's been a long time coming here in England. A fleet of Model S's are going to be used, kitted out with workshop tools, so that customer repairs are carried out on site, says The Week magazine. The fleet of 10 repurposed Model S electric cars look identical to the standard models, although Autocar says the rear seats are all removed and they're replaced with a suite of tools on sliding rack trays. Now, at the moment, Tesla has only a pair of these bespoke Model S's for the mobile service, says Alpha, but the number is expected to grow to 10 over the next coming months. What's more, the company will carry out these over-the-air software diagnostics on your Tesla that can identify 9 in 10 issues before they even get there, says Auto Express. And if there's no one to greet the technician when they arrive here in the UK, we will get that thing where you can remotely unlock the vehicle to allow access to all of the things that other people have been used to, finally coming to this country. Well, that's where we'll end for today. Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to spread the word about electric cars. If you can share this podcast with maybe at least one person, and you and I can share the news about EVs together, that would be great. All of the previous podcasts are on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, TuneIn, Stitcher, and the blog at evnewsdaily.com. And if you subscribe, you get them first and free and automatically. Come and say hi on the socials. If you look for EV News Daily, you'll find us. Have a wonderful day. In the UK, we're having a bank holiday on Monday, so no work. Yay! And I'll catch you tomorrow.